Welcome to Jakook Are Dating. Hope you're all doing well, Jakook fans. Today, I'm bringing you a video full of happiness, tenderness, and surprises. Because yes, our beloved Jakook is back. And when I say back, I don't mean they're making a drama. They're back to share the Jakook interactions we've been longing for. In the world of K-pop, filled with cameras, microphones, and carefully crafted words, there is one thing that feels most honest when it is left unsaid. Jimin and Jungkook are a perfect example of this. They don't need to explain anything, they don't need to make statements, and they never try to convince anyone. Yet somehow, every time they are in the same room, everything feels so clear. Not through words, not through confessions, but through the way they are present for each other. Jakook always makes people wonder, not because of big drama or manufactured moments, but because of small details that are too consistent to ignore. A brief glance caught on camera, a smile that appears unconsciously, or a reflexive movement that seems to happen naturally, yet feels meaningful to anyone who pays attention with their heart. Jimin is known as a gentle, empathetic person who is very sensitive to the atmosphere. He doesn't love in a loud or flashy way. His attention often comes in the simplest forms, standing closer, turning his head first, or making sure the person next to him feels comfortable. And when that person is Jungkook, Jimin's body language seems to speak for itself. Jungkook, on the other hand, is not the type to hide his feelings. His reactions are spontaneous, honest, and often come without a filter. When he laughs because of Jimin, stares at him a little longer, or instinctively moves to protect him, it all feels natural, not something planned. That's what makes many people feel that what they see is not just a normal interaction. What makes Jakook so interesting is the silence between them. There is no need to always be conspicuously side by side, but when they are apart, the connection is still felt. They seem to know when to get closer and when to give each other space. It is an understanding that was not born overnight, but built from time, trust, and long companionship. On stage, behind the scenes, or even in casual, unplanned moments, this pattern continues to emerge. Jungkook often seeks out Jimin with his eyes first. Jimin is often where Jungkook returns, both literally and emotionally. There are no exaggerated scenes, but that is precisely where its strength lies. Fans often say that Jakook feels real, not because they want to believe in something grand, but because what they see feels so human. Awkward, warm, spontaneous, and imperfect. The emotions that surface don't seem forced for the camera. Even when the camera isn't focused on them, those small gestures still happen. And perhaps that's the main reason why Jakook always keeps us guessing. Because what they show isn't a story told directly, but a story that can be felt. Everyone can interpret it in their own way, but that warm feeling is hard to deny. Jimin and Jungkook remind many people that not everything beautiful needs to be announced. Not all feelings need an explanation. Sometimes, the strongest things are the quietest. And through those brief glances, small smiles, and consistent presence, Jakook continues to speak, without a single word. That's why, to this day, they remain an enjoyable mystery to observe. Not because of some big secret hidden away, but because of the small honesty that continues to be visible to anyone who cares to notice. Interestingly, Jakook never seems to be trying to show anything. It's precisely when they are unaware of being watched that everything feels most honest. A small laugh from Jungkook that appears just because Jimin does something trivial. Or Jimin's expression that softens when Jungkook speaks, as if the world around him dims for a moment. Moments like that are too quick, too natural, to be called coincidence. There are many couples in the entertainment industry who appear close, but Jimin and Jungkook's closeness has a different rhythm. They're like two people who are used to reading each other's body language. No big gestures are needed. One small movement is enough for them to understand each other. And that is what makes their relationship feel deep, not on the surface, but on a quieter emotional level. When Jungkook looks tired, Jimin is often the first to notice. Whether it's through a light touch, standing a little closer, or simply being there to calm him down. Conversely, Jungkook often shows his concern in a protective manner. This reflex appears without calculation, as if it were an ingrained instinct. It's not something that was learned, but something that grew over time. Fans who have followed Jakook from the beginning know that this dynamic hasn't always been the way it is now. There were awkward moments, periods of growth, and role changes. From a cheerful younger brother and an attentive older brother to two adults standing side by side, strengthening each other. It is this long journey that makes every interaction between them feel emotionally meaningful. What touches many people is the consistency itself. No matter how stage concepts change, how age advances, or how the world around them moves quickly, the way they respond to each other remains consistent. As if an invisible thread connects them, even when physical distance separates them. And amidst all the speculation, theories, and debates, Jimin and Jungkook choose to remain silent. They neither confirm nor deny, nor steer the narrative in any direction. But their silence is not emptiness. That is where all the meaning lies. Because what is real does not always need defending. Jikook is not about announced certainties, but about feelings that are felt. It's about how two people can be a safe place for each other in a noisy world. It's about how someone's presence can make everything feel lighter, even without a single word. Perhaps that is why every little moment of theirs is always talked about. Not because fans want to exaggerate, but because humans are naturally sensitive to emotional honesty. And when that honesty emerges, even for just a second, it leaves an impression that is hard to forget. As long as Jimin and Jungkook continue to stand like this, calm, warm, and understanding each other, that curiosity will never fade. Not because we're waiting for a confession, but because we're witnessing something rare, a relationship that's not loud, yet feels so alive. And perhaps, in the end, that's the most beautiful story of Jakook. A story not written with words, but with presence, with glances, with silence that speaks louder than anything. In the end, Jimin and Jungkook teach one simple thing. Not all feelings need to be explained to be understood. In a world that constantly demands clarification, they choose quiet honesty. No declarations, no announced promises, just consistent presence and sincere attention. Jakook isn't about what people want to hear, but about what can be felt. About how two hearts can recognize each other without needing words. And as long as that silence still speaks, as long as those glances and small gestures remain, curiosity will always linger, not out of confusion, but out of beauty. Because sometimes, what's most real isn't what's loudest. And Jimin and Jungkook prove it without needing a single word.